on Polar Night Ladder Edition. First game is going to be on Polar Night Ladder Edition. I'm excited.
I am excited too. It's going to be pretty insane here. Of course, we do have in the bottom corner, we have Zest against Life. And this should be at the bottom right corner. We have Life, the Blue Zerg, representing Startail.
His opponent at the top middle is the Red Protoss player. Of course, he is a legend in Pro League. And he should not be ignored. You might not know his name, but you will after today if he has his way. He is Zest. All right, so Life versus Zest, Game 1 on Polar Night Ladder Edition. This is it, man. This is Game 1. This is what a lot of people have been waiting for. Day 1 was awesome. Life ended up coming through the open bracket. Zest got an automatic qualifier seed of sorts based on his performance in the Korean qualifying.
Yeah, which was the hardest qualifier I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was about 60 of the world's best Koreans.
You actually, there was actually you had a hype show leading up to this tournament where you kind of just talked exclusively about that those matches.
Yes.
Can you rehearse our audience a little bit about how good those matches were and just the level of competition that Zest had to go through to get to this point?
So I'm not going to talk about the 10 other Code S Koreans that Zest beat. I'm just going to focus on the 2 matches I highlighted, because literally that tournament was, he had to win something like 12 best-of-3 series in a row, and everyone, like, the first round was like partying your Jokchi, right? This is like round 1, right? That was this type of tournament. I'm going to talk about the matches I highlighted yesterday, which was Zest against Curious and Zest against Innovation. And I think the things to look out for skill-wise from Zest, just super, super solid fundamentals, but he really loves counterattacking. I think he's probably, alongside with Hero, the 2 Protosses who can use counterattacks the most. Like, he will be in 4 places at once as the game goes on with Zealot, Dark Templar, Warp Prism drops, High Templar. And he does that to make sure he's not hasty to get into engagement. So that's actually a difference between him and another Protoss you might see today's Hero.
Right.
Hero's often just, like, loves to get in engagement and showcase his micro. Zest is a player who's like, you know what? I know I'm better at harassing and multitasking and getting small advantage as the game goes on. I'm using my army not to try to force an engagement, but use it as a positional tool to make my harass stronger. Then as the game goes on, of course, the engagement will favor me more and more and more just because I'm tearing him apart with harass. So that's something to look out for Zest as the game goes on. Of course, we did see he'll mix in, I think, in both series. He mixed in one aggressive build, one kind of like normal 3-base type time build, and one super long game. So he's super versatile, but definitely look to his late game harass if it gets to that point.
Okay. Now, I have a question.
Yes.
How do you see Zest going after Life early on in the game? Obviously in PvZ, some decisions that have to be made, some ideas that these players go for, some strategies are, let's try to break our opponents. Let's try to break our Zerg opponent. Let's try to get him to make units and not drones in the form of some sort of gateway aggression. Sometimes they'll do 2-base timings. We see Life taking a 3rd base that's a little bit closer to his opponent, which could make himself a little bit vulnerable to some sort of 2-base timing attack. But that could be a thing from Life where he's like, okay, I'm going to make this a little bit closer to try to encourage you to do 2-base timing attack, because I am very comfortable in holding that stuff off. What do you see Zest doing in the next few minutes here against Life?
I mean, he has a lot of options. One thing to talk about Life's 3rd base is it's interesting. It is closer to Zest, right? But other thing to consider is that it's super open. Like, if a Protoss, like almost every Protoss 2-base timing revolves around sentries, the majority of them, right? And force fielding out the Zerg to get a good engagement. Now, what angle can he come in at where he can have miracle force fields, right? It's like there's this huge area here where Life can engage, or if he comes in from here, it's even bigger, right? So while it's closer, it's almost the perfect spot for his Zerg engagement. So I don't know if Zest is really going to go for I mean, he might do some harass, but a committed 2-base timing on this map against this 3rd location is going to be tricky. And that's why, for example, Life didn't take a 3rd base here. Yes, it's a little further away from the Protoss, so he takes it to the left, but the Protoss can kind of come down along this corridor and position themselves on the edge, and all of a sudden, you know, it's a much more manageable engagement for force field. So I really like that decision to take the 3rd base here. Of course, later on, he has a relatively easy 4th and 5th base, which is a nature of Polar Night. It's once you have 3 bases, it's pretty easy to go up to 5, or at the very least 4. So knowing that and knowing how much Zest does like the late game, we may see him just play for that very long late game. Now, he is getting Phoenixes and a couple gateway units and an attack on the Forge, but you don't see additional gateways being added quite yet. In fact, he's saving up a decent amount of minerals. I do think we're going to see him add about a couple more gateways and put on some Zealot pressure with the Phoenixes, and then proceed to a third base, kind of a standard, you know, Phoenix harass into like gateway pressure third base.
There we see 3 gateways on the way. Phoenixes taking down one of those overlords, of course, not too worried about hiding those Phoenixes, and has a robotics facility going down behind this. So this kind of tells us he wants to continue with his tech progression. He's still making probes. He's saturating all of his gases. And he has, you know, obviously a mid to late game plan beyond these early stages of gateway pressure. So he's going to do some 4-gate pressure, as you said, with a lot of Zealots, some Phoenixes involved, behind +1 weapons upgrades as well. It remains to be seen what he's going to do beyond that. Likely at third base.
You know what's interesting is really cool to watch as far as Life's play is, first of all, he got 6 queens, which is kind of cool to see. He's getting 2 more, so he's going up to 8 queens.
Nice.
The second thing that's pretty cool is notice how much he's delaying Spore Cores, just now building one in a natural. And that's because he's keeping his queens together, and he's kind of like making sure they're always in the zone where if the Phoenixes pop in, the queens are there to protect. Can they get the transfuse? Oh, would love to transfuse that Overlord.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, wasn't able to quite get it off. But yeah, the timing of spores is just delaying them as much as possible, maximizing the drone mining time. And of course, the reason why you get the spores is mostly to protect the queens. So for example, this queen here would be vulnerable without the spore crawler, but the giant pack of queens is of safety in numbers, and they're totally safe from the Phoenixes.
Okay, so Zest is starting to reveal a bit more of what he's intending. He's adding on 2 additional gateways here. He's making immortals out of that robotics facility. He's chrono boosting them out as well. So it seems like something triggered him into wanting to do some sort of timing push. He has +1 armor on the way, still making probes, and he's going to be at 56 probes, so he's still a bit flexible. I mean, he can still go out and take a third base, but he can easily turn this into a heavy 2-base push, and adding 2 more gateways as I say that. So he's going to be up to 8 gateways on 2 bases.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting. How many? I think he was thinking about taking a third base, and maybe he saw all the queens and the fact that Zerg's going Roach. And if you look, Life's still getting queens 3 at a time. And this is clearly a build he's practiced. This build is designed to kill the Protoss third base.
Oh, his probe. His probe was taken out at
poor
third.
little guy. 4 Zerglings took that guy out, or vicious little creatures.
What's Zest's plan here?
I think Zest realizes that if he takes a third, Life is going to converge on him and kill him. And so he says there's no rush. He knows that Life isn't teching, right? Life is, even though Life is on 3 bases, he's on Queen Roach, which is stronger than Pure Roach for sure, but it's still a competition that over time the Protoss will be able to overwhelm. Okay. And that's why he's taking later third. Now he's coming in here, but so many queens.
Whoa, Militia Corps just got targeted down right there. The queen's on the high ground. Zest needs to back up a little bit. He wants to obviously be able to see these units, but they have that high ground advantage. Some links coming forward as well. Zest is in a little bit of trouble. A lot of Zealots going to be warped in here. Some force fields going down here from Zest, trying to protect this third base. He does not want to lose it. Of course, Life is objective right now. Let's deny that third base, but Zest might have enough here to hold this off.
He might. I mean, the queens are very tough to take down, but there's not too much else to support them right now. Transfusing like a maniac is Life, though, and if once the Zealots go down, okay, more Zealots being warped in, but Speedling's running here now. The queen count is being decreased, and I think Zest is going to hold this.
Oh, Zest is just fine, and Life is going to try to run away with queens, which is something that's not so simple. However, some Roach reinforcements coming forward here from Life. Look at the creep. It's all the way over to this third base. Amazing creep spread here from Life. He's going to try to bait forward those force fields. Zest trying to figure this out, trying to figure out exactly what to do, but nothing but Roaches in the production tab from Life, and he has more queens in production, and also a Spire that's about to finish. So this is just the beginning of Life's aggression, and he's really trying to crush down this third base.
Important to note, Life has not got any upgrades for the queens or Roaches. That means he's definitely thinking about transitioning to Mulus, but right now he smells the blood in the water, continuing to reinforce with more queens and Roaches, applying pressure to third base is Zest, and I love the inclusion of the queens in this competition. They help out so much.
5 more Zealots warped in. Zest feeling, he's sweating a little bit in holding this off. Roaches taking down a lot of sentries, and now we have a purely immortal Zealot composition here from Zest, which isn't terrible again when you're facing off against Roaches. That heavy immortal count is going to be very important. But Life isn't done being aggressive towards his third base, and Zest still trying to figure out what the optimal way to kind of hold this off.
Yeah, I mean, he's really just desperately trying to warp in units as fast as he can to stay alive. Yep. Now, of course, At this point, he was able to get enough gas to mix in a few sentries. An Immortal Zealot sentry is the ideal counter to this Roach army, but he's got to be careful to keep the Immortals safe. The Zealots are to meat shield and damage. The sentries are there if the Roaches go towards the Immortals to keep them at bay.
Nice force fields there, trying to keep the Roaches forward so the Zealots can do damage. There are 4 Immortals in the back here from Zest doing a lot of damage to those Roaches. Life going to try to target it down. There's a Time Orb keeping the Immortal life for a good amount of time, but the Roach is able to target that down there from Life. More Zealots warped in again. Zest desperately trying to stay alive. He's trying to get this third up and running as well to supplement those resources. 12 more Roaches on the way from Life, but once again, Zest able to hold off this push.
Wow, great play by Zest, staying alive there. You can see he's been cost efficient. And economically speaking, both the players are very, very even. Life never really fully droned up his bases. There's no 4th base from the Zerg, and Zest still has 3 Immortals, continues to reinforce with Zealots. I don't think Life can break this anymore with Roaches, but he doesn't have the resources to pull up that hard Muta switch, so instead he's actually adding in a Hydra to stand behind us.
Oh, he's trying to squeeze some Roaches in the natural expansion, takes down the Zealot. This is going to be very annoying for Zest to deal with. Roaches are now in the natural expansion. Zest's going to keep going forward to his opponent's 3rd base. He's trying to take advantage of this counterattack timing window after cleaning up the Zerg army and also knowing that a lot of Roaches are in his main and natural, so his opponent is going to have a lot of defenses at his 3rd base. So Zest might be able to take this 3rd base out and a lot of drones, but at what cost in his main from his main and natural?
Looks like Life's going to try to fight a bit with the drones. Meanwhile, of course, the natural of Zest has been forfeited. The main he was able to defend with a warp, and so he's going to clean out his natural as well, and the probes all got away. So Zest, great defense at home, and the 3rd base of Life is seconds away from falling here. Queen's coming forward, great transfuses again, but Zest continues to warp and use. Remember, he's still on 3 bases. Economically speaking, he's significantly ahead of Life in the worker count as well. I think this is over.
I get, like, Zest is just... His control is amazing, dealing with that Roach counterattack and then just sprinting across the map with that heavy Immortal count. That's going to be so important in that composition. Also having a good amount of sentries helping as well. But look at that composition. It's getting relatively low. Life is definitely not giving up. I mean, we have a lot more Zealots being warped in, but I'm not sure what Life can do at this point to kind of hold off this force. And there's the GG.
Yeah.
Zest
Wow.
takes game 1.
Wow, Zest is such solid and confident play throughout that. Execution was great. And the build Life did is much more difficult to deal with than your standard Roach Max, because the Queens can push away the Phoenixes, which otherwise would continually pick away your army. The Queens take much more reduced damage against Immortals. They have more life than Roaches, the same damage output, and of course the transfuses. And Life did a great job of transfusing, but I think Zest is able to, his force fields were so good, the Immortals he's always keeping safe, and just warped in enough units to stay alive.
He was very patient too throughout that whole process. He didn't take a crazy fast 3rd. He was just being safe, getting a bunch of sentries out, some Immortals, so he can actually protect that 3rd base, because he knew Life was coming. And what was really cool about that push there from Life, I thought, was the creep spread.
Oh, yeah.
Right to that 3rd base. And that's, of course, he started off with like 8 Queens. He just made nothing but Queens once that spawning pool finished. Able to get that creep spread right next to his opponent's 3rd base, which means reinforcements are going to get there so fast, he can apply a lot of that aggression.
And of course, the Queens.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they need to be on creep.
It's fantastic. And Zest did a great job defending that, counterattacking, and taking out Life in Game 1. So the question is, what's going to happen in Game 2, guys? You're watching the first best of 3 of the day. It's Life versus Zest. Match 1 from Group A. Game 2 coming up.